Hey everybody, this is Z. Let's take a look at a few charts and talk markets. This is a 10-minute Globex chart, and I like to look at many different types of charts. This will incorporate some of the previous day's range. I think that's important. You've got to obviously attach meaning to prior history. So first thing that I'm going to look for is some obvious support and resistance zones from the previous day, and then see how today may or may not fit into that. And I will create a bias in my mind of what I think is going to happen, and then react accordingly as it actually does. So first things first, let's take a look at the overnight range and find out if there are angels and demons that are in play and where normal ranges might be. Try to remember where gaps are at, for example, that 8 area, and then I want to see if the market can get above it and hold it, or stay below it, gets below it and stays there. And first support pivots that I had contemplated was the 95 to 98 zone. Thought that should hold first time back, and looking back at these particular bars over here. And if not, then obviously test the next lower ones and so on until we get to find some true support. Out of the gate, we get a sharp bounce right back up into that 5 area at the open, and then which is the middle. That was that 5 to 6.25 zone that we had as the middle here, and then it sold off. And truthfully, every rotation you can see, and always looks easier in hindsight, but every rotation throughout the day until the end of the day really was lower highs and lower lows. So this chart will help us to see those type things without too much other information on it. So I like to look at a chart like this and not be overloaded with too much information. This is a 60-minute chart, and it's an RTH chart, and we had a strong resistance zone at this 2375 area. I had made a prediction the other day that I thought we were going to go test that 18 to 22 zone. That was based on this line. I thought that the boys would want to try to get near and test that. It actually tested within a point or two of that and failed. Risk reward came in, and then we sold off and obviously did some chopping around. And then subsequently on Friday, obviously we took out the low and then came back to test this next low right here. So you can see a lot in the chart just without too much information on it. Go back and find your gaps and see areas that certainly were areas of resistance and support, and then do your range trading. But look how much time we've actually spent in this past month in this range. You know, outlier up here and outlier down here, and whole lot of time here, really from this 1860 zone and up into this 30 area back in here. I really like using the box method, and in this Darvas box system that I'm using here, trying to show similar ideas in terms of the relative box size on different time frames, different levels, and that same 2375, 24 area we talked about right here, obviously, in my opinion, is a bull bear line of significance. So above that and holding above that, obviously would be more bullish. Below it, we're testing more support. And I try to show these ideas as fractals, where in many different time frames, the same ideas can be applied. So once you learn the theory and once you learn the concept, then you can apply it over multiple time frames, and I think that's important. Here's a smaller time frame, but same relative idea of using the boxes. Had the resistance, obviously on Friday we had double top area in that 15 zone right here. That's a double top. We had a double top at that 22 zone. I thought they might try to poke it a point or two above that the other day, but never did, and then it just sold off on Thursday. Bounce was contained on Friday, and then once we had the open, we had some gyration in here, and I was looking at 95, 98 as first support. If you could break that, then open the door to that previous low right here. And note how this low is at the middle of this big bar. I like to see the middles tested before the bottoms, and that's something that I learned from pristine day traders, Oliver Velez, Greg Capra, in their great book talked about that, and that's where I'd learned that years and years ago, and that happens a lot, so that's something you may want to pay attention to. When we were able to get back to the gap, this gyration here, nobody knows, not me, not anybody, which way it's going until we finally get some continuation. But that's my bull bear line right here at 2.5, which I had pointed out for a couple of days. And I thought that was a very important area. And once we got below that and stayed there, then it's lights out as we go lower and lower and lower all day long. And the first key, obviously, you've got to take out this low. Once we do, that opens up this range, but more importantly, this low right in here. This becomes the next significant support that I am looking at. And it happens to fall at this big pivot of 1875 area, 1873.75. And that's why I believe that when we came in towards lunchtime, this was a good place to make sure you are paid and we get this bounce that comes up. And then this is the 85.88 where I called as resistance, and I said I think this is what the longs have to beat to start to put the pressure back. And you want to be careful end of the week because you never know. Sometimes I've seen huge bounces from here. You just don't know. Typically, I like to take profits and then get paid and go do a few things and come back and then find another trade. It's easier to do it that way than to, sit there and give half of it back. And sometimes you'll really miss a good trade, but that'll even out in the long run. Mainly, though, if you've taken risks, make sure you get paid. Here's a Globex chart, and this is a 5-minute chart, and you can see this is what I call the umbrella pattern, and you can see it's a beauty. An umbrella pattern simply because that's what it looks like, the shape of it, where it rounds itself over. And this is a 5-minute variety. I look at 5s and 10s and 15s and 30s and 60s and try to get an edge by looking at a number of different size charts. And this one in particular, the rain line obviously is on top, and then the blue line, which is the slope line, under that blue line we want to look for this to continue lower until we get too far stretched away from the longer term average line. That's the rain line. And the green and the red lines obviously are the faster lines. And until you get past the green and red line, you're not going to hit the blue line obviously, or the pink one. So in this pattern, you look for bounces and re-entries. If you step out, you're going to have to chase it lower, because that's the definition of a trend. You're going to have lower highs and lower lows. So if you step out, you can jump in anytime, and sometimes you'll need to take heat for a few minutes. But if you can get right back in the rhythm and make something going with the trend, I prefer to play that way than trying to always guess the contra. So for me, on a day like Friday, I had a picnic I was running late afternoon. So I had a few things I had to do, and actually by the end of the first hour, I'm not even there anymore. I'm gone. I have to take off and go buy some hamburgers and hot dogs and rolls and whatever. And that's the beauty of the system. I can leave and come back in, and within 5 minutes identify the pattern and the price levels and what I'm still expecting. My original expectation was the long's going to try to defend 98, 95, and if they could, then off to the races and try to get back off and test much higher. But once they fell below and could not sustain anything up here, I'm just thinking south side, let's look for support targets that show up, including the ones that I identified on Twitter. I want to pay attention to your IB lows. That was obviously the resistance that I'd called 85s, 88s. One of our traders had suggested, we could get to the 64 target, and I totally agreed, but sometimes you need to give the market time to breathe, and I felt it was time. It was the end of the morning. It was a great push south side, and I felt we were going to get some consolidation going into lunch and normally get a little bit tighter lunch range. The market could not sustain anything more than a 10 to 12 point bounce and then rolled over again and stayed underneath this blue line. So when you come back, if you are out of the market and you want to find a trade, you look for a trend trade until it doesn't make sense anymore. So you're scalping with the trend, you step out, you come back, and at lunchtime you say, I think we can't get above this. If you want re-entry, take 85 to 88 zone. That's the resistance zone, and try to jump back in and see if there's anything left for the afternoon trade. Here's your RTH chart. There's a 5, and same thing. Look at how the rain line is above us, and the green and the red and the blue. Look at right here. We're right on the first bounce, right into resistance at the half gap type trade right here at 5 to 6. That was the middle. And all of a sudden, we cannot sustain this, and every rotation starts coming lower and lower. And then the bounce, lunchtime bounce, range type trading, you can see it, and then fall off again. We're bumping into S1, we're bumping into S2, and I'm counting points as well. That's one thing that I'm looking at, is how big is the move? Is it really an outlier or not? And I don't like the idea of trying to guess against a strong trend. At the end of the day, we get after 2:30 to 3 o'clock, I am always aware of a timing type trade, where now the odds have to even up to the side that was getting beat, because anybody who had a great day as a day trader is going to want to take profits, and if they don't, that's silly. So there are times when you'll miss trades where it keeps on going, but this low that we talked about several days ago, that 64 is a significant area, that was on my mind. And I'm well aware there's a gap just below it, but odds said make sure you're paid in here. I believe that price and pattern and timing and psychology and anticipating and reacting, these are some of the most important keys in the market. You have to put all of these together, just like a car is no good if it is missing a certain element. It's got a flat tire or no gas or no key. You need all of them to make it effective. Same thing with trading. You need to put a number of things together, and that's what we do with E-mini Wizard System. If you'd like to have something, you need to do something. If you'd like to do something, you need to be something. You need to be a good trader if you're going to take market out of the market every day. You can't do that unless you have a system that's been proven over time to give you an edge. And I believe that there are many great systems out there, and I happen to think that I've got one of them. Currently, we're running a special. Anybody that has interest, hack now. You'll save a few bucks. Even if you paid full price, it's still a great value. Where else can you enter the arena and take capital out of the market every day like you can with the E-mini S&P? It's just a great tool and a great vehicle. So the question really becomes, what's holding you back? Is it lack of capital? Is it your fear? Is it your pride? Is it time? You don't have enough time? Is it your lack of knowledge? Obviously, the lack of knowledge I can help you with. Those other factors I can't. The goal is not to sit here all day long and catch every little wiggle. It's to define what it is that will make you happy and what you want out of life, and then find a way to go get it. And I suggest that one of the best ways to do that is to find a system like this, if you like the markets and if you have those other elements, and then put them all together. So I can help you with the shortcut. Take me 22 plus years to learn this, how to read the tape and identify high odds trades, both long and short. And that's either position or swing or day trading. So if you want a shortcut in gaining your knowledge, I'm going to ask you to invest in the E-mini Wizard System. And if you want it at a discount, the time is now. This special will be ending. And I'm always going to run a special here and there, but realistically, there's a time value of money. So you lose opportunity just simply by not stepping to the plate. So I'm going to ask you to step to the plate now, and good luck. And if not, we'll see you on the flip side with some more analysis.